Neil,
Hi.
you're the pothead professor.
You betcha.
Tell me about that. Like, what? Are you a professor or are you a pothead professor? Or some combination therein?
Yes, I am not an accredited professor, as some might think. I pretty much do all my own research for my videos, so I'm kind of learning along with my audience.
I watched after I met you yesterday. I took a look. It's great.
That's awesome. I have a bit of history in video editing, so I took my kind of love of video editing and my love of cannabis and melded them
That's what I did.
this this beautiful YouTube channel, all trying to educate the public more about what we're actually putting into our bodies and kind of the history of this, long-reaching plant. I mean, it started anywhere from just centuries ago in China. India brought it up into started using it with more the psychoactive properties of it, a lot of religious ceremonies and stuff like that, and it's just the spread of it is wild. Like I said, I'm learning a lot just making this channel, which is one of the reasons I like doing it so much.
And talk a bit of in your research. And so the video editing and the cannabis, that's a good combination. I've found a very good combination. But anything surprised you that you're like, oh my God, I didn't know that, or other people need to know that, or both?
It's always, I do a whole series of Terpene Tuesdays, diving into the different terpenes. I knew a bunch about terpenes, a little bit kind of as a user, how it affects me and things like that, but really learning sort of the science behind it, especially, caryophyllene is a terpene that actually binds directly to the receptors in our body. It's the only terpene that does that. Mostly it's the cannabinoids that do that, and the terpenes kind of ride on them. But caryophyllene itself directly interacts with our body, so that's why that one is more beneficial in the medicinal side of things. Another really interesting thing I learned was I just released a video all about the history of cannabis in the Middle East, which was actually a huge thing because the Quran explicitly had banned alcohol in the Middle East, but not cannabis, because it wasn't really widespread when it was written. So it kind of, when it was introduced, kind of blew up and became this huge thing, and hashish became super common from all the way from the empiric rulers all the way down to the slaves and serfs running the fields.
So yes, the answer is yes. There is things that you didn't know and dove deep on, and how are people responding to it? Because it is super compelling from a historical perspective. There's lots of sort of history intertwined in the cannabis industry, but also, or not industry, but cannabis itself. And now there's this modern industry in Maryland. And there's a through line through it all.
It's crazy. I'm getting some decent feedback in my comment section and stuff like that. I'm trying
better than getting the opposite kind of feedback.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to get more discussions going. Just about a year into this channel, so I'm still growing it, still getting a wider viewer base. But I'm really hoping to kind of spark more of that conversation and get people more interested in why is this making me feel the way it is? What's really the difference? I mean, botanically, indica and sativa are just how the plant grows, whereas in our modern vernacular, it's pretty much just how is this going to make me feel? Where it's there's a 1,000 factors.
Right. And which is the one that makes me panicky?
That would be pinene.
I got to stay away from that.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's interesting because I'm very simple, right? When I see CBG as a cannabinoid, I'm like, G is for good time. That's the way I sort of break it down, and CBN is for nighttime. Those are the that's where my, not knowledge, but I see the products, and I live in Toronto, we have tons and tons of products, and but those are the ones that I've been gravitating towards lately, and gravitating other people's towards, certainly on the edibles front.
For sure.
Yeah, because CBG's good.
The 11:30 programming sessions are now underway. That's on level 3. 11:30 programming sessions just getting underway.
Fair enough.
And CBG is a really interesting one. Interesting that you thought the G is, well, in your mind, you link the G to good time. As far as what I know about it, the G also is really good for your gut health. It's really good for your gastrointestinal tract, so people with IBS and just heartburn even, different things like that. It's really good for that. Cannabis itself interacts with your digestive tract a lot because that's where we have CB2 receptors in there. And CBG is one of those things that does that. But yeah, I'm really excited now seeing all these edibles come out It really seems to be mostly in the edible space where they're kind of distilling these other cannabinoids out, the CBG, the CBN, which is extra sedative. Interestingly, CBN is also THC degrades into CBN. Oh. So if you've got really old weed that you've been sitting on, it's probably not bad, but it's probably going to make you pretty sleepy.
Oh, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm actually working on a video right now. It should be released in the next week or so about THCV,
which
is one of
the diet one.
Yeah, one of my favorite cannabinoids. That's kind of little known, but starting to come out there more. I actually. There's a brand here in-house that makes a vape that's a 5-to-1 THC and THCV, which is really nice because I find the THCV gives you more of like an energetic, uplifting kind of feeling. So it's like if you're looking for a sativa sort of feeling in our modern vernacular, THCV is probably something that you want to look at because it does give that sort of energy boosting interaction with your body.
Let me ask you a question. If certainly in the edible side, there's ones that are like completely THC, and there's one just THC plus something else. Whether it's CBG, we have this gummy that's THC, CBG, and CBD, and there's like more CBN ones. Like, is it the fact that there's 2 or more cannabinoids in there? Does that? I mean, it matters what they are, but like, does that broaden the impact overall?
Absolutely.
Does it?
One of the things, and actually, because they've been trying to synthesize cannabis in the pharmaceutical industry so that they could patent it and sell it and make tons of money, and that's one of the huge reasons why it's still illegal is because a bunch of companies have been paying lots of money to keep it illegal. But you can't really distill it because it's like hundreds of different cannabinoids and hundreds of different terpenes and flavonoids and other things like this that all interact together to produce something we call the entourage effect, which is all of those things working together and supporting each other. So a lot of times when you get those edibles with multiple different kind of cannabinoids, it's going to feel stronger than something with just THC, even if it's got CBD in it, which you might not think is particularly psychoactive. But when they combine, they turn into something way more powerful to either medicinally or for enjoyment.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, you know that intuitively, but like I find that if there's more than one, it's actually helpful. CBG is the most helpful in this case, but also the one that is like CBG, CBD, and THC. Is interesting.
And there's actually a cannabinoid, CBC, which
is funny because that's our public radio.
But CBC, like what some of the research done on this has shown that it helps support all the other ones and meld them together more. So it, once again, it might not, if you get a distillate of that, it might not do very much for you, but when combined with everything, that's where it really shines through.
You having fun doing this?
Absolutely.
What do you do outside of this?
Before
this?
I spent 10 years doing video production and editing. Got kind of disillusioned with that just because constant advertising was pretty much where I was working, and it's just so many buzzwords and flashiness and stuff like that. And I wanted to do something a little more impactful, something that can actually reach and help people. And so I geared my way into the medical cannabis industry because that was one of my passions as well. And so I currently work as an inventory manager at a local Maryland dispensary.
There you go.
But in my spare time, I try to learn as much as I absolutely can about this plant and spread that information with as many people as I can.
Can we talk about inventory for a sec?
Yeah,
because that's like a subject I am interested in. And I know with the advent of, it's not invented here, but with the addition of rec into the Maryland market, how has that changed the inventory that you carry or that others carry? Like, is it expanded? Do you need to have different products, or is it like just the same products, like just more of them? Like, what is?
Yeah, well, it's super complex because state to state there's different laws of what's allowed. I know like in Florida they have potency caps on like how much THC can be in the plant, and here in Maryland we have a similar cap on recreational patients cannot buy any edibles that have more than 10 milligrams of THC in them.
Potency cap in there.
So there's a potency cap there. So it's really weird how it's been evolving because like we're talking about these other cannabinoids aren't regulated at all. So you can find stuff with like 10 milligrams of THC with 50 milligrams of CBD on top of that, and that'll hit you like a truck because when you combine them, and there's so much CBD, just adding a little THC in there is going to melt your like muscles down and get you super duper relaxed. But it's kind of completely ridiculous, that law, because obviously bigger bodies need more to feel anything.
Right.
It's also completely impossible to overdose on THC at all. It would literally take, I mean, just like, you would overdose on sugar or salt before you overdosed on THC from eating cannabis, which is crazy because almost all the products we have here are candy and sugar. Right. We just came out with a new soda that's 10 milligrams of THC and 34 grams of sugar.
Shit.
So you're going to overdose on sugar before you hit.
I mean,
yeah,
you can crash. Not have nothing to do with cannabis.
Yeah, it's completely insane. But so flood of 10 milligram edibles. But I think that also helped push this kind of look into these other cannabinoids that aren't as harshly regulated.
What could make the impact of that 10 milligrams THC boost it?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's all about like how much bang for your buck can you get with 10 milligrams of THC. That's kind of where that rec market has pushed the industry, which is actually a good thing because it's giving more research into these ulterior cannabinoids.
Well, this has been great, Professor.
Yeah, thank you.
It was nice to meet you.
Absolutely,
thanks for coming
man.
by.
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to release this, obviously, as we release the other ones next week, but thanks for making time.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
The jacket, too.
Thank you.